Hey guys, Matthew, and today I want to make a video about something that I figured out yesterday on stream, and it's going to be why Veiled Chaos Orbs are extremely underrated right now, underused, and of course, how to make best use of them. Now, this video is not going to include a list of the things that you can do with them because it's very, very extensive and the video would go on forever. Instead, I'm going to give you guys the theory, essentially, on how to best utilize it. Alright, so now let's first look at what are Veiled Chaos Orbs. So essentially, a Veiled Chaos Orb is a Chaos Orb, but that guarantees a Veiled modifier. With the change to Veiled modifiers and unveiling this league, whenever you unveil a modifier, it's going to be basically almost the equivalent of a T1 modifier, which is very, very, very powerful. Now, the reason why nobody really uses the Veiled Chaos Orbs compared to, for example, an Ashling Unveil is because it rerolls the entirety of your item, which is not very good. Right? There are certain case scenarios though where this is actually worth using. So for example, if I had a bow where I have I don't know, like +2 arrows, right, and nothing else, I could actually craft on a prefix which would be suffixes cannot be changed, and then I can use a Veiled Chaos Orb. This is actually going to respect the suffix, right? The metamod suffixes cannot be changed, which is something that we know. Now, this is useful in certain use case scenarios, especially, for example, on some boots, right? So if I was to do that on boots, so let's say I had my Tailwind, right, and then my effective non-damaging elements, or it could be Onslaught or anything else, right? I could actually go ahead and lock these suffixes in with the Benchcraft, and then I could do my my Veiled Chaos Orb. And the advantage of this here is that whenever I unveil, right, since it's a Chaos Orb, it's also going to come with additional modifiers. This can be very, very good because you have an additional chance at, for example, life, or an additional chance of like T1 move speed, or, you know, hybrid life, so you can craft on life, anything like that. Unfortunately, though, the problem with this is that you have very little control over your item, right? If instead of doing something like this, I was to actually unveil, I would actually have a lot more control over the item, because if I unveil, now I've got 2 open prefixes, which I can do many, many things with. I could slam it with an Exile, right? The way that the game was intended to be played. I could craft on life or something, which, for example, with the Veiled Chaos Orb, I have a lot less control. I could get 3 random affixes alongside, sure, the unveil, which is something I want, but also a bunch of affixes that I may not want that may be completely horrible, like, for example, rarity or armor or something like that, right? Now, when you pair these 2 things with Harvest, you can actually come up with, for example, doing suffixes cannot be changed, and then I can do the reroll with, like, crits, and on a pair of Redeemer boots, the only critical tag on boots is going to be elusive, right? So if I do that, I'm guaranteed to get elusive. Now, I may or may not get other modifiers alongside my elusive, but most of the time, because like 60% or 55% of modifiers or items in the game come with 4 modifiers, as you can see, most of the time I'm going to only get 1 modifier. This is going to be elusive. Now I can go ahead and, you know, take it a step further with my Ashling, and then I can unveil that move speed that you're almost guaranteed to get, and then I can actually finally throw on some life, and I've got a very, very good pair of boots, right? We've got, you know, the non-damaging elements, which is elevated for self-chill right now, very popular build. We've got the Tailwind, the move speed, the elusive, and the life. Crazy good pair of boots, okay? But what if I told you that we can go a step further? What if I told you that we can actually push this even further? And this is where the Veiled Chaos Orb and its true power comes to shine. So now there's going to be a limited usage scenario for this Veiled Chaos Orb strategy that I'm about to talk about. But in the right scenario, this is actually insane. Okay, so let's have a look at what I'm talking about. Essentially, what I'm saying is that you can basically guarantee a double unveil every single time. So if I look at the Syndicate, right, and an Ashling Unveil says adds a Veiled modifier to a rare item with a 15% chance to add a second Veiled mod. So if I had 4 modifiers, right, and I unveil again, there's a 15% chance that I'm going to get 2 of these Veiled modifiers. But now, what if I told you that there's actually a way to make this 100% of the time? You have to realize that these unveils are 3 to 4 Exalt every single attempt, and with a 15% chance, we're looking at about 1 in 6, right? So that is anywhere between 18 to 24 Exalt or so on average to actually get a double Unveil. But with the Veiled Chaos Orb, we can make that a 100% chance in some cases. Okay, so let me give you guys an example of that. If I was to make a bow for elemental hits, I would start with the suffix +2 arrows, because that's pretty much right, the go-to starting spot. Then I would make sure to be fracturing this modifier here. Once this is fractured, essentially the hard part is done, because I can use fossil crafting, and if I remember correctly, it would be corroded, jagged, and metallic in order to get, you know, some level, some plus level socketed gems and socketed bow gems on my bow. Now the issue comes, once I've got this +3 and once I've got this +2 arrows, what happens? Okay, well, what happens at this point is that you would actually fill in your suffixes, kind of like this, right, where I've got 3 suffixes and 2 prefixes, and I would unveil, right? And then the unveil that I'm looking for would be attacks with this weapon penetrate elemental resistance. You're not guaranteed to hit this, okay? Now at this point, my bow seems done, right? It seems really, really good. But now the question is, how do I finish up the suffixes? So what you would typically do on this is that you would actually do reforge with harvest, reforge keeping prefixes, because this modifier here, this bow 2 arrows, since this is fractured, it's always going to stay on no matter what. And if I do reforge keeping prefixes, I could actually get it by itself, or I can also spam this technically to get other modifiers with it, but typically it's going to be by itself, so you're going to be wasting currency every single time. So what you want to do essentially is just open up one of these suffix slots, because then what this allows you to do is go on the bench and craft on prefixes cannot be changed, which is a suffix, and then you can use harvest to basically somewhat deterministically acquire certain modifiers. Like, for example, by doing reforge plus speed, you could get attack speed, right? Or by doing reforge plus crit, you could get crit chance, right? Or crit multi, right? So this is where you would typically end your craft. You would get, for example, crit chance, and then you would finish it off with a bench craft. But we can actually go a step further because of veiled modifiers being as powerful as they are. What we can actually do, and now this is kind of where, in my opinion, this is really, really, really strong, and I'm not sure if it's completely intended, but we can craft on prefixes cannot be changed and instead use a Veiled Chaos Orb. Now, the reason why this is strange, the fact that it works, is because I'm not able, in the game, I'm unable to use a Veiled modifier on an item that already has a Veiled modifier. Meaning, since my item already has one of the, you know, Ashling modifiers here, I'm unable to unveil it again with Ashling unless I get rid of this modifier first, which could be through an annul or something like that, right? But it's impossible for me to actually go again. What I would have to do is, after spamming the fossils in order to get my gem levels on my bow, right, I would actually have to unveil, right? And then if I only get one unveil, which would be a prefix, and then maybe or sometimes even a suffix, I would have to remove crafted mod in order to not unveil it at all, and then just unveil it again. And after 6 times or so on average, I would get 2 veiled modifiers, right? But with this strategy, since we get one of the unveil, we can actually use the Veiled Chaos Orb to basically guarantee a second veiled modifier for very, very cheap. Essentially just the craft prefixes cannot be changed, which you would be putting on anyways. The advantage of this over something like the Reforge using Harvest is that the Reforge using Harvest can, well, in many cases, give you something horrible, right? Like bad crit chance, bad crit multi, or for example, if you're going with speed, it can give you proj speed, it can give you bad attack speed, it can give you a lot of really bad things. Meanwhile, if I actually use the Unveiled Chaos Orb, I'm much more likely to get something that I'm actually wanting. For example, 58 crit multiplier while a rare or unique enemy is nearby is a crazy damage multiplier to my bow here, right? Or, for example, you could get, well, I guess that's probably one of the worst case scenarios where you don't really get anything too great. But the advantage here is that if you don't get anything good, right, you actually don't lose anything. All you have to do is prefixes cannot be changed and smack another Veiled Chaos Orb on it. And see, this time I got attack speed quality, which is probably one of the better options, because now you might be wondering, but why is attack speed quality better than just pure attack speed? It's less attack speed because this quality is going to affect the attack speed on my bow itself, because I should have a harvest, you know, attack speed per quality instead. So this is going to bring my bow up to 48 quality. And I'm still going to be able to benchcraft even more quality because it's not the same tag. So if I get attack speed quality Unveil, I can go ahead and benchcraft, for example, critical strike chance and quality, which is going to bring the quality all the way up to, well, 60%. And if I have the harvest mod, I believe it's every 8% quality you get 1% attack speed. So we are looking at a lot of attack speed over what is potentially T1 attack speed, which is 19% on a bow, through the usage of all this quality. And of course, we can also guarantee even additional crit chance. But the real advantage is that it's much more likely to give you something that you actually care about, compared to whenever you are actually not using the Veiled Chaos Orb and you're using Harvest Reforges. So essentially, that's why, in my opinion, right now, Veiled Chaos Orbs are absolutely underused and absolutely underutilized and underappreciated. I really think that it's possible to make usage of them in ways that are very, very, very strong, like what I just showcased here. Now, of course, there is a limited amount of use case scenarios because it rerolls your item. So the reason why it's so strong to use on a bow is because one of her modifier is fractured. So that means that anytime that you can potentially work with a fractured modifier using the strategy of unveiling one modifier and then forcing the other through a Veiled Chaos Orb, it's going to be very, very interesting. For example, I think one of the best use case scenario on that would be a scepter, like a +2, a +1 all gem with a +1 fizz with spell damage and non-chaos extra chaos scepter with double damage unveiled suffix. Something like that would work absolutely fantastic, right? And you can even go a step further and slam it with like a Redeemer or Exile to try to get like Hatred or effect or something down the road. So anyways, I really think, as I said, that Veiled Chaos Orbs are very, very strong. I don't know if this is intended. Maybe it's going to get changed. But for the time being, you know, whenever you are crafting items that are making use of the unveiling, you should really try to figure out if there's a way that you can use another unveil on your item, especially if you're using fractured items. So that's pretty much all I have for the video. Before I go, I want to say a massive thank you to my supporters, however: Flint Scorpion, Richard, Willie, Alex, Jordan, Emma, Raymond, Tim, Scott, Lost with the Map, Grimoire, Nathaniel, Kremis, Justin, Kevin, the other Justin, So Nice, Axel, Mercury, and Bizen, as well as a massive, massive thank you to everybody listed here down below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.